Continuing to follow up, you mean?
Yeah, how
Yeah.
have you found sort of, I suppose maybe it's a matter of deciding your purpose for the VIP?
That's part of it, but really at least in the early stages when you're initially getting to know this person, you need to remember that oftentimes we approach this of, I want to get something out of this relationship. Like,
Yes.
I want exposure from that person's audience. And when that person has a larger audience, they receive a lot of that. There's a lot of people who are reaching out trying to get something from them. What they don't get a lot of, you'd be surprised, is people reaching out with no strings attached wanting to help them. So the
Unconditional.
Exactly. So the best thing you can do, and there's this amazing spirit of reciprocity where we want to help people who help us. So, the best thing we can do is using something like the conversation list strategy to define in advance the people who really inspire us, the people who we're engaged by, people who we like what they're doing, we support their business, we would like to support their business more, and then spend some time to helping that person. And it's a little counterintuitive because oftentimes we're thinking, well, my business needs more business. I want more revenue in the door. I want more clients. So therefore, I want something from them. And this person's already so successful as it is anyways. They can certainly help me. They don't need my help. But the reality is that approach doesn't work. I mean, if you're just going to go with a handout, you're just asking them for something. You're not going to get something from them. So it's a lot better approach to take a longer term strategy and get to know the person, be attuned to what's going on with them, be attuned to what they're promoting, what they're doing with their business, or maybe it's not even with their business. Maybe it's their daughter's applying to college, going to be applying to college next year, and you can give them some advice on where your alma mater that they're considering. It could be something of a personal nature like that. It could be that they don't know where they can get organic gluten-free Thai food in New York, and they're visiting New York next month, and you have a sister-in-law who lives in New York, and so you can give advice on that. You can give them some recommendations. So it's really about being attuned and being aware of what's going on with them and helping them where they need help. And then when you do that, you really build a relationship with that person, a sincere relationship, and then they're going to want to reciprocate at some point.
This, of course, is one of the key things to Robert Cialdini's book, Influence.
Yeah. Yeah.
And on that topic, have you got any particular books you recommend?
Yes. So Give and Take by Adam Grant is a spectacular book. How to Win Friends and Influence People is about a 100-year-old book, and Give and Take's only a couple of years old. But How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie, classic book. A lot of people have heard of it. Few people have read it. Actually, it sold millions of copies, so a lot of people have read it. But the Carnegie book basically, the argument is that when you're more aware of other people, when you take interest in other people, they're going to take more interest in you if you take interest in them. And then the Grant book, Adam Grant book, is basically the academic research and the social science research to back up the propositions which Carnegie makes in his book. And don't get me wrong, Adam Grant's book is spectacular. It's really well written, very engaging. But he's a professor at Wharton in Pennsylvania. And so he backs up many of his arguments. And his argument is that if you are more of a giver, that is, you're less of a taker, you're more likely to give in relationships, then you're more likely to rise to the top of the success ladder. And he backs it up with a bunch of different examples across different industries. And so I often say to people, go out there and be a giver, not out of a spirit of charity, but because it's better for your business, because you're more likely to be successful financially.
Doesn't it make sense? And it's the same thing with unconditional, not expecting a return, because
Right.
we can detect as humans very, very quickly when
Yeah.
somebody's got an agenda that doesn't align with us.
Yes, absolutely. We
Yeah.
can. I mean, we've got a BS meter, if you will. We
Yes.
can tell when someone's, just out for themselves. And sometimes we do it subconsciously. Someone sends us an email, or every time we talk to them, they're asking us for something. They're not giving anything. And so sometimes we subconsciously, separate ourselves from that person or give ourselves a little bit of distance versus someone who's constantly coming to you and helping you. That's someone you want to bring close.
Yes.
So, I mean, it's not rocket science. This is the derogatory term that some people say. They'll say, "Oh, it's not rocket science," or "I know that," but they don't do it. They don't
Yes.
do it. So that's the key difference.
That Dale Carnegie, absolute top favorite of mine. It's one thing I'd love to see in the entire education system around the world, and would hope that if that was the case, we'd have less wars. Here's the problem with it. Because of its title, it sounds like it's some book to try and push people into, strange persuasion ways, but it's totally opposite. It's really a book on how to be nice to people.
It is, right. It is. Yeah, I mean, there's some stories in there about individuals who, there's a guy who meets a biologist at a dinner party, and he ends up having this long conversation with him, and the guy takes a lot of interest in the biologist because he's never met a biologist before, and so he asks him a lot of questions and just continues asking questions and hardly says anything about himself. At the end of the evening, the biologist goes up to the host for the party and says to the host, "I had the best conversation with that person. He's really such a lovely conversationalist." And the funny thing was, all he did was really ask questions. So if you ask questions, if you take interest in people, that's rare enough that people will really enjoy your company. They'll really enjoy having you around.
Yes, totally. Now, I've learned a ton of stuff from you. John Corcoran's got a Facebook page, which I'm part of, and the thread on there and other people talking about this show John's knowledge. So how can people find out more about what you do?
About what I do? Best place to learn about me is at smartbusinessrevolution.com, smartbusinessrevolution.com. I've got a bunch of free email templates that are really popular with people. I've drafted some email templates for sending emails out to VIPs and influencers you'd like to connect with, so you can use those and send those out, customize them to your liking, and use that to connect with people. But most importantly, I just want to leave people, with a little bit of the strategies and the inspiration to go out there and reach out and connect with the people that inspire you. Because I think it's personally sad that oftentimes it's the people that we're most inspired by that we're least likely to reach out to through a sense of intimidation or fear or hesitation or just being afraid of rejection. So I want to encourage more people to do away with that and to actually, say, if there's someone that you are really inspired by, someone whose work you'd like to support, to go out there and do that. Because when you do that, your life is more fulfilling, you'll be happier, and your business will grow.
And what is life without connection? It's the top thing on the planet. I think your mindset thing is really important.
Yeah.
It's a matter of understanding that the playing field has always been level. It's only in your mind that it hasn't been.
It is, absolutely, right. Yeah, I've had conversations with the most powerful people in the world. Literally, just a quick story before if we have time for another story.
Yeah, go ahead.
Before, the President of the United States traditionally does a radio address, although now it's like a YouTube video basically.
Yes.
But when I was working in the Clinton White House, it was a radio address. And the president, the way they did it then was on a Saturday or Sunday morning, the president would come into the Oval Office, record this address. It was a couple of minutes long, while 150 people were standing in the Oval Office observing. And then he would take pictures with all those people. And the people who were in that very small group in the Oval Office were all members of Congress, celebrities, VIPs, and departing staffers. And before I left, when I was leaving the White House, I got to go. And my family flew out from California to participate. And we'd heard in advance that the president at the time, President Clinton, was building up his DVD collection because he'd just gotten a DVD player, and he liked old westerns. So we bought these old westerns to give him as a gift, as a way of having a conversation with him, because we knew the photo line would go really quickly. So we go down there, and it's a long line, and it goes down, and we go get up to him, we hand over the DVDs, and we end up having a very normal human conversation about old western movies. And my brother and I didn't know much about them, so we didn't have much to contribute to the conversation. But my dad actually used to be a film critic, and he can talk about movies with anyone. So we end up having like this long conversation while everyone behind us, all the other VIPs, are like, who are these people? Why are they getting the long conversation, And, I tell that story to people because if I can have a normal human conversation with the leader of the free world standing in the heart of power in the Oval Office right in front of, the Resolute desk, then you can have a normal human conversation with whatever VIP you have in your life. Just connect with someone on a human level. That's a way of building up trust. When you build up trust, then the sky is the limit.
Thank you so much, John. It's been a real pleasure and privilege.
Thank you, Quentin.